Welcome. I'm Doug Morgan, and you're listening to Uncommon Sense, where we hunt for the truth in the topics you're not supposed to talk about, Christianity and politics. In Deuteronomy 12:31, it says, "You shall not worship the Lord your God in that way, for every abominable thing that the Lord hates, they have done for their gods. For they even burn their sons and daughters in the fire to their gods." Well, this is a terrible thing to think about, that these people of Bible times would do that to their own children. But then you think, we do that very thing too, don't we? It's called abortion, and it takes on many different forms. One of the early pro-abortion arguments was that girls are getting injured with the back alley abortions, so we need to legalize it. Well, it looks like things haven't changed much. More than 1 in 20 women need a second abortion attempt after the abortion pill fails. That's by a new analysis of insurance claims, and that's what the data shows according to several articles here by the Daily Wire. Over 5% of women had to undergo a repeat abortion attempt within 45 days of taking mifepristone, indicating that the first abortion attempt failed, according to an analysis from the Ethics and Public Safety Policy Center released recently. The center analyzed insurance claims data from 865,727 mifepristone abortions between 2017 and 2023. Now, a total of 45,498 women needed a second abortion attempt to complete their abortions after mifepristone failed. That's what the data shows. Of those women, 24,563 needed a surgical abortion procedure. Nearly 7,000 women underwent both a second medication abortion attempt and a surgical abortion attempt after the first mifepristone attempt failed. That's what the analysis found. And this is the latest evidence that advocates have misconstrued the safety and the efficiency of the abortion pill. An analysis released last month found that more than 1 in 10 women experienced a, quote, serious adverse event, unquote, after taking the abortion pill in 2023. This can include hemorrhaging, needing a blood transfusion, an emergency room visit, and even deadly conditions like sepsis. That is about 22 times higher than what the FDA listed on its label for the brand Mifeprex in 2023. The FDA cited clinical studies saying less than 0.5% of women suffered serious adverse reactions to mifepristone. The two-pill chemical abortion regime, mifepristone, usually followed by misoprostol, aims to end the life of the unborn baby and expel it from the woman's uterus. However, the drugs sometimes fail to expel all the fetal tissue, which can cause life-threatening complications, of course. Nearly 14% of women experience either a serious adverse effect or repeat abortion attempts after taking the abortion pill. The report's authors concluded that the FDA should immediately reinstate the stronger patient safety protocols it previously had in place for the drug. A few months before Roe versus Wade was overturned, the FDA scrapped the requirement that women must obtain abortion pills in person from a healthcare provider, allowing them to obtain them online through the mail. This is crazy. I've been trying to get an antibacterial spray for my dog in a hot spot that she has, and I can't do it without taking her in and having her seen by a vet. But what can happen? You can get the abortion pill through the mail. The FDA should also mandate reporting of the abortion pill's side effects and reconsider its approval altogether. This is what the analysis concluded, and co-authors Ryan Anderson, president of the Ethics and Public Policy Center, and Jamie Bryan Hall, the center's director of data analysis, said, our real data presents the actual experiences of women who take the abortion pill in the U.S. today. That's what they said, and they said that these women may have pre-existing health conditions and may not receive proper care before, during, or after the abortion. The women recruited into the clinical trials were relatively young and healthy, and they received a carefully controlled regime of care. Frequent in-person visits would have enabled doctors to diagnose and treat any side effects early before they could become serious, of course. And this is how it should be for every woman, is what they said. And again, I would say that there's little reason for an abortion, but anyway, let's continue. This is why it's so important, they said, for the FDA at a minimum to reinstate its original safety protocols, which more closely resemble the conditions of the clinical trials. Both proponents and opponents of legalized abortion should be able to support this move to protect women's health, they said. Anderson and Hall also emphasized that pro-life laws are not to blame for complications from the abortion pill, as some abortion advocates, of course, have claimed. They like to throw that out there. Those who blame the failures of the abortion pill on pro-life laws are deeply mistaken, if not downright dishonest. And I would go with the latter. Every woman should seek medical care in an emergency, and every doctor should provide life-saving care without fear of reprisal. Medication abortions are far more common than surgical abortions now. And medication abortions make up 63% of all abortions in 2023. 63%. Yeah, that's bad. That's up 21%. Or I'm sorry, 31% in 2014. That's up from 31% in 2014. That's according to pro-abortion Guttmacher Institute. Now, the abortion pill is likely the main factor driving up the country's total number of abortions in recent years, even in the wake of the Supreme Court's decision to overturn the Roe v. Wade decision. Abortion advocates have argued that the abortion pill should be more available to order online now than some Republican-led states banning abortions. Now, permethazine was originally approved by the FDA in the year 2000, but it's long past time to reevaluate these chemical abortion pills. One of the most commonly prescribed abortion pharmaceuticals in the United States today is one of the most dangerous substances in the world, according to groundbreaking research. Sadly, it's not as polarizing a product as Ozempic or vaccines, for instance. According to the bombshell new study, using real-world data, the abortion pill is physically wounding thousands of women per year. When the Food and Drug Administration approved the abortion pill, it was on the basis that chemical trials had shown a serious adverse reaction in that 0.5% of women. But the new research, which analyzes all of these women, over 865,000 women and abortions between 2017 and 2023, found that adverse rate was 11%. That's crazy. That's 22 times higher than what the FDA said. These adverse events are not mere side effects. I mean, we're talking about hemorrhaging, We're talking about sepsis, infection, cardiac distress, and incomplete abortions, as you know, as part of just the laundry list of complications suffered by women within 45 days of taking the abortion pill. The figures come from an all-payer health claims database, which we talked about. The insurance companies don't pay for things that didn't happen, and so the research was published by the Ethics and Public Policy Center, which comprise more of this data to show these results. If these serious adverse events were caused by, a common antibiotic or a diabetes medication, media outrage and mass public uproar would just ensue, right? You know that to be the case. If this was a pill for anything else, it would be all over the news. Reckless conduct in the service of political ideology got us here. And in the final year of the Obama administration, the Department of Health and Human Services watered down the safety regulations. They allowed the abortion pill to be prescribed by non-physicians and then taken at home, away from the watchful eye of medical professionals, and extended the maximum gestational age at which a child could be aborted from 7 weeks to 10 weeks. The Biden administration took this ghoulish crusade a step further even. In 2023, they removed the virtually all safeguards to the extent that a woman can now order the abortion pills online, take them at home, risk bleeding out, flush her aborted child down the toilet, and go at it alone, all without seeing a doctor at all. It is up to the new Trump administration to restore some sanity here. President Trump has been notoriously fickle on abortion, and as has his HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy. Just a little bit ago, Catholic Vote joined a coalition of 30 other pro-life organizations urging President Trump to reevaluate the FDA's approval of the mifepristone in light of the study's disturbing conclusions. Both Kennedy and newly installed FDA Commissioner Dr. Marty Makary have expressed a commitment to prioritizing women's safety in regard to the abortion pill. That's good news, right? Upon questioning from Senator Steve Daines of Montana during a confirmation hearing, Kennedy promised to study the abortion pill and take action on any new developments. Dr. Makary has expressed similar rhetoric, although he stated in late April that he had no plans to restrict the pill until the data could be examined thoroughly. The question now is whether health and safety will take priority over abortion absolutism. There are too many women suffering silently for the administration just simply to do nothing. And there's more on that front that is a little bit disturbing coming out of the Trump administration. The Trump administration recently moved to dismiss a challenge to the Food and Drug Administration's lax abortion pill guidelines, which have opened the floodgates of dangerous mail order abortions. The Justice Department said in a 15-page court filing that a suit from the Republican Attorney General of Missouri, Idaho, and Kansas challenging the FDA's decision was not filed in the right location and should be dismissed. The red states argue that the FDA overlooked the dangers of the abortion pill when it relaxed the guidelines in recent years and allowed the pills to be shipped through the mail. In its filing, Acting Assistant Attorney General Roth mirrored the Biden administration's position, which defended the FDA's loose abortion pill regulations. And he argued that the state's claims have no connection to the U.S. District Court of Northern Texas, where the suit was filed. Well, the Trump administration's decision will likely anger Republicans, of course, and pro-life advocates, definitely. And as the Daily Wire previously reported, there are networks of leftist activists who ship abortion pills, often unregulated ones, manufactured in foreign countries, into states where abortion is illegal. And these networks send pills to anyone with access to a credit card and a mailing address for less than $100. Purported users of the abortion pills often report on social media horror stories of doing their procedures and recount stories of flushing large chunks of aborted babies down the toilet. Susan B. Anthony, pro-life American President Marjorie Dannenfleischer urged the Trump administration to take steps to rein in the abortion pill, pointing out the documented dangers. Quote, at a minimum, the Trump administration should reverse the Biden's FDA's reckless nationwide mail-order abortion drug policy. We urge the Trump administration to reinstate basic measures that require real medical oversight. Women and girls deserve better than high-risk drugs with no in-person doctor, no follow-up, and no accountability. This isn't healthcare. It's harm, she said. And the case originated after the Republican Attorney General had interceded in another case brought by pro-life doctors concerned about the FDA's guidelines on the drug and other abortion drugs. The case was later dismissed by the Supreme Court, which said the doctors lack standing, and the Republican officials revised their complaint. Quote, at bottom, the states cannot keep alive a lawsuit in which the original plaintiff were held to lack standing, whose plaintiffs have now voluntarily dismissed their claims. And the state's own claims have no connection to this district. That's what Roth wrote. The states are free to pursue their claims in a district where venue is proper. Roth also wrote that the states failed, quote, to identify any actual or imminent controversy over whether any of their lawsuits are preempted, unquote. Well, Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey responded recently to the filing by pointing to evidence showing the established dangers of so-called self-managed abortions. Quote, beyond a reasonable doubt, the evidence clearly establishes that mifepristone poses a grave risk to the health of women. The most recent study says 1 in 9 women who ingest this powerful chemical will end up in the ER or worse. Regardless of which venue is proper for a lawsuit, Missouri will always fight to protect the health and safety of women and demand the FDA acknowledge the data and reinstate critical regulations to prevent the needless loss of human life, unquote. And at the heart of the challenge to the FDA was the out-of-control abortion pill black market that has cropped up following the end of Roe versus Wade. The Republican AGs wrote in their lawsuit that, quote, removing the in-person dispensing protections enabling a 50-state mail-order abortion drug economy, a world where countless women in plaintiff states received abortion drugs by mail later in pregnancy with no in-person care and go to the emergency room in plaintiff states. In addition to the ending the life of the unborn child, the abortion pill often has the health consequences for the mother. And they go on to talk about the 11% of women that have had serious adverse medical events after taking the pill. including hemorrhaging and sepsis and all this. Another study from the pro-life Charlotte Lozier Institute found that the rate of emergency room visits following chemical abortions had spiked 500% from 2002 to 2015. 500%. That study was later redacted for political reasons ahead of the Supreme Court hearing on the abortion pill, is what the author said. But reacting to the news of the move to dismiss, Senator Josh Hawley, an outspoken pro-life advocate, said that the administration was making a serious mistake here, and I would have to concur. I mean, you've got to understand what is happening with these abortion pills, and you've got to get on top of this. And in fact, I liked how Matt Walsh put this, because Planned Parenthood, of course, is the number one abortion provider in this country, and the way that they and others have gone about this, the promoting of abortion, is and really in a lot of other things as well. It's not just abortion that they do wrong. They get a lot of things wrong, and I like how Matt Walsh put this. He says, in an opinion piece here, he says, I have spent a lot of time covering psychiatric drugs like SSRIs, and the problem with these drugs is that they're incredibly potent, potentially dangerous, and they affect the mind in ways that the doctors prescribing them don't fully understand. And all of these problems are compounded by the fact that they are increasingly easy to obtain. In fact, the problems with psychiatric medications become more evident. The barriers to access them only become lower. It seems that things should be working the opposite way. But that's how it goes now. If you want to get a highly potent, dangerous, mind-altering drug, you can. In fact, you probably don't even have to leave your house. This trend is becoming more and more common with an ever-increasing array of drugs. They are very easy to get. There is very little oversight, and you don't have to leave your home to obtain them. This is a major problem that will require all kinds of legislation to fix. But there are some steps that we can and must take immediately to address the problem of fraudulent, life-altering drugs being handed out in large quantities to young people, basically on demand. One of those steps is to defund some of the largest distributors of these life-altering drugs, which is something that should have happened a long, long time ago. If we can't ban these people from operating outright, then at the very least, we should stop giving them money and tax breaks. What's happening is a genuine crisis, and it's not limited to SSRIs. It extends to a whole host of other drugs as well. And a new investigation by Live Action, the pro-life nonprofit, has just brought renewed urgency to this crisis and how completely out of control the problem really is. Here is part of an undercover investigation by Live Action where they contacted various Planned Parenthood locations posing as a 16-year-old girl. And in these conversations, Live Action's 16-year-old girl requested gender affirming care. Gender affirming care. That's how they put it. Gender affirming care, including cross-sex hormones. And Planned Parenthood responds by saying this is completely fine. They say they'll do it virtually over Zoom or something like that. And then they suggest that if the girl goes to a clinic in person, she doesn't need to be accompanied by her mother in the examination room. The footage is which you can find online, is part of an extensive investigation by Live Action into Planned Parenthood, and the full report was just released just recently. To put things in context, Planned Parenthood is the leading abortion mill in the country. They commit roughly 40% of the abortions in this country, all by themselves. And they receive something like $700 million from taxpayers every single year. So what exactly is that money buying, aside from abortions and irreversible drugs for children? According to Live Action, citing various investigations, it's allowing Planned Parenthood to traffic in human body parts, commit all kinds of health code and privacy violations, and engage in anti-white racism at all levels of its operation. The entire report is available online if you want to go view it, and you should. And it will simply highlight, let me just simply highlight one section. At least 40,000 patients went to Planned Parenthood for gender-affirming care in 2023 alone, a number that has risen tenfold since 2017. The largest proportion, about 40%, were 18 to 22-year-olds. According to Live Action, 45 out of Planned Parenthood's 49 affiliated facilities provide this so-called care, and Planned Parenthood is now the second largest provider of so-called gender-affirming hormones in the United States. And the report continues. Planned Parenthood targets minors for gender-affirming care by disseminating pro-transgender ideological online information in schools. It has also stated that it would like to expand its gender-affirming care in a greater number of minors. The report cites a video from Planned Parenthood in which the organization claims that puberty blockers are, quote, like a stop sign, unquote, that pauses puberty without any potential side effects. Planned Parenthood also provides sex education materials to elementary schools, according to the report, including, quote, information about puberty blockers and graphic and graphics of pubic hair art and things like that. In some cases, Live Action notes that Planned Parenthood was caught referring a 14-year-old undercover actor for gender-affirming treatments at another organization so that he could hide his so-called transition from his parents. It goes on and on. Every page of that report is extremely difficult to read, and it's all very damning. Even if you put all of the baby murder to the side, which you can't, because it's still obviously the most evil thing this organization does. But even if you did somehow forget about that, Planned Parenthood still remains one of the most evil organizations in the country. Their explicit goal is to permanently alter the lives of young people with surgeries and hormones long before they're able to consent to any of this. And as the report outlines, half the time they don't even follow their own protocols as limited as those protocols are. What's left unanswered in all of this is why Planned Parenthood still receives hundreds of millions of dollars in federal funding. Republicans control Congress and the White House. So why in hell are they still sending so much money to these butchers? To be clear, as Live Action's report outlines, you probably don't even need legislation to stop the funding. There are dozens of violations listed in this report, which documents Planned Parenthood's issues with patient privacy and fraud and trafficking of fetal remains and so on. All of these problems by themselves are grounds for the exclusive order, an executive order shutting down the funding immediately. But that hasn't happened yet. And Congress hasn't done anything either, nor have they done anything about the mass prescriptions of SSRIs. And to be clear, Planned Parenthood should be forced to shut down by law. The whole organization should be banned, and all of its executives and employees at every level of the company should be put on trial for crimes against humanity. There should be a Nuremberg for Planned Parenthood executives, but that's not likely to happen anytime soon. And there are a lot of things that should happen but won't. And this is number one on that list. So defunding them is just simply the bare minimum. It's not even close to the full extent of what should be done to shut down these butchers and child abusers and bring them to justice. It's just the most meager first step. It's the step where we at least stop forcing Americans to fund these psychopaths. And yet, we haven't even done that. Republicans control the federal government, and yet somehow we still send hundreds of millions of dollars to Planned Parenthood. Why? What is the reason? What is the negative consequences of defunding them? The left will be mad. The media will complain. The activists will shriek and sing protest songs in the streets. I know that last one is pretty painful, I admit. But in any of is any of that enough to override the great moral necessity of defunding an organization that kills and castrates children? Obviously not. Especially because the protesters will be shrieking anyway. The media will complain regardless. The left will stay mad no matter what. They're going to cry. We might as well give them something real to cry about. That's not to say that the Republicans in Congress haven't done anything at all. They're technically showing up to work, even though it's not exactly groundbreaking stuff. But it's well past time for elected Republican representatives, along with the White House, to take decisive action on the ghouls and butchers who call themselves healthcare providers. If we can defund NPR, and the White House says we can, then we can defund these abortionists too. And we can stop abortions, corporations from distributing psychedelic drugs like they're candy. While we're at it, this is what we voted for. And I would agree with Matt on this. I think he's dead on right. And yet not everything is negative when it comes to abortion news. And I want to cover some more of this. In fact, let's do this on our next podcast. Let's do this Wednesday, and let's cover some things that are both good and bad. But there's some good news out there as well. So let's do that. I would love to hear what you think about what we covered today. And you can do that at uncommonsensepodcast.com. Of course, we're on YouTube now, so go ahead and share and like and pass that along. That would be much appreciated. And thank you for listening. This podcast is a production of Morganite Communications.